The concept of a human soul is known as ideya. Over time, humans became aware of their ideya and learned to manifest it, eventually integrating it into words and expressions. Two friends were discussing the manifestation of their ideya. One of them revealed that his ideya manifested as a long sword, prompting the other to request a demonstration. Amazed, he watched as the long sword materialized before him. When asked about his own ideya, he responded that it manifested as the ability to make bricks from soil. His friend, upon hearing this, became annoyed and struck him hard on his side, causing him to fall. Disgusted by the idea of being friends with someone of a rank E, these occurrences became common after the manifestation of ideya, leading humanity to assign ranks to individuals based on their ideya and souls, which were once considered equal but were now categorized in a hierarchical system. Schools gradually deteriorated, becoming tools to elevate a country's status by training individuals with higher ideya ranks for the front lines of war. Houndy Special Training High School was one such institution. The scene shifts to the school's basketball court, where a group of students are fighting each other using their ideya. One of the players shouts at his teammates to capture the brown-haired player who is dominating the court, but they fail to do so. The brown-haired player dashes forward and manifests his ideya into a massive iron axe, questioning if this is the limit of the students from Class 10. He taunts them, urging them to struggle more. He then leaps into the air, preparing to swing his enormous axe down onto a red-haired player, who quickly manifests his ideya into a light tonfa to block the attack. However, the red-haired player is unable to withstand the impact and stumbles, creating an opportunity for the brown-haired player to break through while the others struggle to stop him. The red-haired student shouts at Park Jin-sung, who is just standing idly, to do something, but Park Jin-sung wonders if he would be of any help even if he joined in. The red-haired student's face turns as red as his hair with anger as he calls Park Jin-sung worthless and tells him that they will have a talk after the fight is over. The scene then shifts to the classroom, where Park Jin-sung is being beaten by his classmates, who blame him for their loss, accusing him of messing around. The red-haired student thinks they are unlucky to have been teamed up with Park Jin-sung, whom he considers completely worthless. A student with glasses standing next to the red-haired student comments that they shouldn't expect anything from someone who ranks last in the entire school, and advises him to think of it as stepping in something unpleasant by accident. Park Jin-sung apologizes to them and agrees, thinking they're right since no one can really expect anything from the lowest-ranked student in the school. This further angers the red-haired student, who tries to punch Park Jin-sung in the face, wishing that Park Jin-sung, with his F rank, would just die and go to hell. However, Park Jin-sung quickly dashes away, avoiding the red-haired student's attack. Park Jin-sung thinks that wishing for him to kick the bucket is a bit extreme and wonders why he can't just give up. The student with glasses tells Park Jin-sung that since they're tired, they'll settle for hitting him 10 times for each team member affected by his poor performance. Meanwhile, the red-haired student is even more infuriated that Park Jin-sung dared to dodge his punch. Park Jin-sung, on the other hand, thinks that if they're tired, they should rest instead of hitting him. He glances at the locker that was deformed by the red-haired student's punch and realizes that if he lets the red-haired student hit him with that same force, the red-haired student might get punished, and his whole break would be wasted taking those punches. With that in mind, Park Jin-sung decides to run away, shouting for someone to help him. The red-haired student, along with his classmates, chases after Park Jin-sung, shouting to each other to catch him. Some of the students from Class 10 laugh at Park Jin-sung, comparing him to a fleeing fly. Eventually, Park Jin-sung is cornered by his classmates, who warn him not to use his ideya because it would be painful. The red-haired student assures Park Jin-sung that they will control themselves and only hit him enough that he won't feel the need to complain to their teacher, Yango, since using ideya is forbidden at school. They begin beating Park Jin-sung, while the others in the class express their desire to join in, wondering why a rank F like him had to be in their class. They feel embarrassed to share a class with someone they consider trash and question why he even bothers coming to school, given his hopeless rank. Despite the severe beating, Park Jin-sung still believes that his team didn't lose because of him. This only further enrages his classmates, who can't tolerate a mere rank F talking back to them. As Park Jin-sung's classmates prepare to resume their beating, their homeroom teacher, Yango, enters the classroom, ordering them to take their seats. Yango tells the class that he has some really good news to share. The students who were attacking Park Jin-sung are forced to stop, though the red-haired student clearly wants to continue. One of the students asks Yango why he is so happy, while another jokes that he must finally be getting married, prompting the whole class to burst into laughter. However, Yango sternly tells them to be quiet. Meanwhile, Park Jin-sung feels uneasy as he takes his seat. Yango suddenly smashes the blackboard with force and orders the students to pay attention, announcing that their school has finally been recognized as a capable institution by the government. This news catches the attention of Byun Jaeyoung, a typical bully whose overall combat ability is slightly above average for the school. He recognizes the tone in Yango's voice and wonders if some strange proposal has come from somewhere again. He does not seem happy, as he knows that if this is the case, it will become troublesome, just like always. However, Yango doesn't care and orders Jaeyoung to put his leg down because break time is over. Jaeyoung ignores him and asks if they can stop doing things like this, to which Yango replies that he isn't the one who makes those decisions, so Jaeyoung should already be used to it. Yango further explains that the reason for this news is due to the performance and results demonstrated by the third-year students, which surprises Jaeyoung. Yango then addresses the entire class, informing them that, from today onwards, their school will become a pilot testing ground for military systems. This means that they will all be given a military rank based on their abilities, and from now on, they must refer to each other as comrades. Yango also mentions that the teachers of each class have been assigned ranks, ranging from second lieutenant to platoon commander, and that the entire class should now address him as platoon 10 commander. This makes Jaeyoung curious whether they are called platoon 10 because they are class 10, and he wonders what the school is trying to do to its students. Yango tells him to stop complaining, explaining that this is a government initiative and the whole class should do their best. He informs them that during training, they will be performing salutes like in the military. Yango adds that there will likely be many people trying to recruit students from this school now, which essentially makes them all soldiers. However, Park Jin-sung is not pleased about doing things in a military style, so he asks Yango what would happen if they don't want to follow the military protocols. Yango responds that the school isn't forcing anything on the students, so if any student doesn't want to participate, they can simply request a transfer to another school through the government. He advises Jin-sung to carefully consider this opportunity, hinting that Jin-sung is well aware of the reasons behind it. While Jin-sung tries to process what Yango just said, some students, curious about the sudden change, ask Yango why their school has been turned into a military institution, feeling that they should at least be informed of the reason. Yango reminds them that he already mentioned the reason for their school's sudden transformation into a military academy, the third-year students. He takes out a box and explains that the third years, who are an exceptional group, have helped the school gain military status. Yango also informs the class that all the third-year students have been given the rank of sergeant. While explaining this, Yango turns over the box he was holding, causing all the badges inside to spill onto the table. He tells his students that the third-year students represent the bright future of Korea, as they have been recognized by the Korean government. Yango then explains the ranks assigned to the students in his class, informing them that only a few second-year students in the top ranks will be corporals, while most of the second years will be lance corporals. He adds that rank assessments can be conducted by the platoon commander in charge at any time, so they can approach him whenever needed. Yango promises to do his best for them, emphasizing that their future depends on this opportunity. As Yango distributes the badges to the students, Jin-sung notices that Yango has forgotten to give him a badge, which surprises him. He calls out to Yango to let him know, but Yango ignores him and continues addressing the class, reminding them to take care of their rank insignia while it's not attached to their uniforms. Yango informs the students that they will later receive student notebooks where they can attach their rank insignia, though he muses that perhaps they should be called military notebooks instead. While Jin-sung is still waiting for Yango to acknowledge him, Yango tells the entire class that only one student in the entire school, including the first years, did not receive the rank of private. He then informs Jin-sung that he will be starting as a trainee soldier, leaving Jin-sung, who was already confused, in a state of shock. Yango called Jin-sung to his office, so Jin-sung enters the room to find out the reason for the summons. He greets Yango, who, while sorting through papers, tells Jin-sung that the meeting is not significant, He merely wants to discuss Jin Sung's future and will try to keep the discussion brief. Yango then asks Jin Sung how he feels about transferring to another school, which shocks Jin Sung. Yango explains that the school's transition into a military academy will make it even harder for Jin Sung to endure. Jin Sung responds by suggesting that, as a teacher, Yango should recognize his hidden potential and believe that he could suddenly start performing well. Yango is taken aback by this comment and bursts into laughter, thinking that Jin Sung has the potential to be a good comedian. Jin Sung, however, is displeased, realizing that Yango is laughing at him rather than taking him seriously. Yango then explains that Jin Sung's school life will become even more challenging as a ranking system will be implemented among the students, and he won't be able to attend to every student individually. Jin Sung realizes that, as he suspected, his teacher is aware of the frequent beatings he endures. The reason Yango has done nothing is that he simply does not want an F-rank student in his class. Furthermore, Yango believes that Jin Sung will eventually quit on his own after being beaten daily by other students, as an F-rank Adea is considered a useless unit. Jin Sung, out of sheer curiosity, asks Yango if he thinks there are ranks in the soul. Yango bursts into laughter again, wondering if Jin Sung is serious, as it is obvious to him that there are indeed ranks in the soul. Jin Sung, who had been laughing along with Yango out of courtesy, stops and tells him that he does not believe there are ranks in the soul. After his discussion with Jin Sung, Yango returns to the classroom, tells the students to settle down as the bell has rung, and stands in front of the blackboard with chalk in hand. He instructs the sergeant from each squad to report attendance due to the transition of the class into squads. The orange-haired girl, sergeant of the 1st squad of the 10th platoon, reports that there are 10 students in her squad, and all are present. The red-haired guy, sergeant of the 2nd squad of the 10th platoon, reports that there are 11 students in his squad, and all are present as well. This report makes Jin Sung wonder why they are role-playing the military. After the 2nd squad's report, a silence falls, leading Yango to question if there is no report from the 3rd squad. Jiang responds with skepticism about the necessity of the reporting, prompting Yango to realize that Jiang is the sergeant of the 3rd squad. Yango instructs Jiang not to talk back and to proceed with the report. An irritated Jiang reports to Yango, the platoon commander, that his squad consists of 10 members, with 2 missing and 1 person who he disparagingly describes as worthless, wishing for that person to disappear. Someone corrects Jiang, stating that his squad actually has 9 members. This leads some students to question whether trainee Jin Sung should be counted as well, while others make fun of him for not being considered a full member. Yango concludes the attendance, noting that there are no issues, and begins the class. However, as he opens his book, he realizes that today's schedule includes an event in the field instead of a lecture. Yango informs the class that government scouts are hiding among them, and the school is unaware of their locations. The purpose of the scouts' presence is to observe how the students react to sudden environmental changes. One of the students interrupts Yango, urging him to get to the important details. Yango reflects on their impatience and informs them that there will be squad battles involving the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd years, with matchups determined by the scouts. Another student sighs and asks Yango if the 3rd years will be facing each other, as they are unlikely to be interested in competing against the 2nd years. Yango reassures them not to worry and advises them to stay calm. Meanwhile, Jin Sung is relieved, as he anticipates having ample time to spectate. Yango asks Jiang if his Adea is ranked C, which causes Jiang to turn away in annoyance, questioning why Yango is asking such a question. Yango then inquires about Jiang's overall combat ability, leading Jiang to wonder if Yango doubts his skills. Jiang asserts that he can defeat any opponent. Yango acknowledges Jiang's fighting spirit and announces that the first battle will be between Jiang's squad and the 3rd year 1st platoon 1st squad. This revelation shocks Jiang, causing him to stand up immediately. Yango instructs everyone except Squad 3 to proceed to the field. He orders Jiang and his squad to prepare for battle within 30 minutes and then join the others in the field, while Jiang, overwhelmed, struggles to cope with the situation. The other students in Class 10 wish Squad 3 good luck and advise the trainee to put in maximum effort to avoid being overpowered by the 1st squad of the 1st platoon. Meanwhile, The red-haired student feels sympathy for those who will face unfavorable grading as a result of their fight with him. Meanwhile, the members of the third squad are anxious, unsure how they can possibly win against the best of the third years. They feel doomed, believing it is nearly impossible to defeat such formidable opponents, especially with an F-rank player among them. One member suggests that they should simply go down swinging, as they are likely to lose anyway. However, another teammate dismisses this idea, arguing that it's not feasible to fight effectively with an F-rank player on the team. Jin Sung, feeling dejected, rests his head on the table. He had hoped to get some rest, but now faces the daunting task of battling the third-year squad. Jiang, emerging from his own frustration, approaches Jin Sung. Instead of calling him by name, Jiang derogatorily refers to him as trash. Jin Sung lifts his head, confused by Jiang's address. Jiang, visibly irritated, grabs Jin Sung by the hair, questioning whether Jin Sung genuinely desires to be beaten before the fight even begins. Jiang grabs Jin Sung by the hair and throws him toward the desks, informing him about On Sungo, the formidable senior from the third-year 1st Platoon 1st Squad. Jiang warns Jin Sung that defeating Sungo would be nearly impossible, even if they used all their best strategies, making their battle against the third-year squad even more daunting with an F-rank player like Jin Sung on their team. After listening attentively, Jin Sung concludes that his presence is inconsequential, as they are likely to lose regardless. Jiang, enraged, questions whether Jin Sung believes that merely losing and being humiliated is the same as his own situation. He tells Jin Sung that if their ranking suffers, Jin Sung will be held responsible. Jin Sung, however, dismisses Jiang's concern, feeling that his rating is not significant enough to warrant such worry, which only serves to further irritate Jiang. Despite his frustration, Jiang realizes he cannot afford to physically confront Jin Sung, as he needs to be prepared for the upcoming field battle. Jin Sung, for his part, reflects that being beaten by soldiers or high-ranking individuals feels fundamentally the same to him. This prompts Jiang, the sergeant of the third squad, to assign Jin Sung a role, questioning whether Jin Sung will be capable of fulfilling it. Jin Sung responds affirmatively, stating that he will comply with any orders given by the sergeant. Consequently, Jiang decides to designate Jin Sung as his personal shield from now on. The scene then shifts to the school field, where Jiang stands while holding on to Jin Sung, who, as Jiang's personal shield, appears apprehensive about what might happen to him. Everyone from the school is gathered on the field for the event, while Yango conducts final microphone checks to ensure he can address the entire crowd clearly and without error. He calls forward the leader of the 1st Squad, 3rd Squadron, 1st Platoon, and the leader of the 3rd Squad, 2nd Squadron, 10th Platoon. Both leaders step in front of Yango, who inquires whether their squads are prepared for the upcoming battle. Yango instructs Sergeant On Sungo to showcase his skills to his fullest, assuring him that the scouts are observing. Sungo responds confidently, promising to give his all in the fight and collaborate effectively with his squad members, which reassures Yango of his commitment. Yango then orders the members of each squad to take their positions to commence the battle. The members of the 1st Squad, 1st Platoon, enter the field with confidence and valor, while the members of the 3rd Squad, 10th Platoon, approach with heavy steps and a lack of confidence, bracing themselves for what seems like an inevitable defeat. As both squads take their positions and face each other, Yango announces the start of the squad competition and begins explaining the rules. He informs the participants that each squad leader should have received a bracelet designed to use Idea power to protect the wearer from shocks. However, the bracelet will break once it sustains a certain amount of damage, and a squad member will be disqualified from the competition if their bracelet breaks. Jiang pulls Jin Sung toward him and takes his bracelet, intending to extend its use for as long as possible. Jin Sung wonders if Jiang really needs to hold him by the collar constantly, feeling as though he is being treated like a pet. Meanwhile, Yango introduces an additional requirement for Class 10 due to the experience gap between the 2nd and 3rd years. They must endure for 5 minutes for the effort to be considered a win. Annoyed by Jin Sung's continual complaints, Jiang orders him to stop grumbling and to remain silent, emphasizing that Jin Sung's role is merely to serve as a shield. This designation leaves Jin Sung feeling despondent, as he perceives himself not even as an animal, but rather as an inanimate object. The members of the third squad of the second year remain pessimistic about their chances of victory, believing that their team lacks the strength to endure. In contrast, Jin-sung remains hopeful and sets a timer for 5 minutes, wondering if Yango, his teacher, might reconsider his transfer request if their team manages to win. Yango then orders both squad leaders to salute and commands the start of the fight. As soon as the match begins, Jaeyoung grabs Jin-sung by the collar and starts running in the opposite direction, leaving his teammates behind. Jin-sung pleads with Jaeyoung to wait, but Jaeyoung reminds him that he had been instructed to remain silent. Confident that they can win if they can hold out for 5 minutes, Jaeyoung uses Jin-sung as his shield. Meanwhile, Jaeyoung's teammates are left confused and disoriented, unsure of their next steps or the appropriate formations, as the third-year students advance to attack them. They shout at Jaeyoung for orders, as the third-year students close in and they remain uncertain without direction. Jaeyoung tells them to be quiet and instructs his squad to focus on protecting him, assuring them that they will win if they manage to hold out for 5 minutes. A black-haired girl from the first squad of the third year brutally kicks a member of the second-year squad in the stomach, while Sungo seizes one of their opponents, using judo moves to slam his head to the ground and twist his arm. Both Sungo and the girl then remove the bracelets from their opponents and advance to overpower the second-year squad. As the black-haired girl leaps towards her targets, her gaze falls on Jaeyoung, terrifying him. She charges at Jaeyoung, who pushes Jin-sung forward as a shield to protect himself. Jaeyoung shouts at Jin-sung, repeatedly telling him to block, but Jin-sung asks how to do so. Frustrated by Jin-sung's ineptitude, Jaeyoung snaps at him to block in any way he can. The black-haired girl glares as she prepares to attack, while Jin-sung considers that they should at least run in the other direction. As Jin-sung is continually dragged by Jaeyoung, he notices Yango giving him a thumbs up, indicating that Yango will handle his transfer. Jin-sung finds this irritating, so he stops and frees himself from Jaeyoung's grip. The black-haired girl, sensing an internal conflict, jumps to grab Jin-sung's bracelet. Jin-sung quickly turns around and seizes her hand to snatch the bracelet from her. Surprised by Jin-sung's quick reaction, the black-haired girl activates her idea, which manifests as a gleaming silver armor. Jin-sung is impressed by the armor, noting its combination of aesthetics and functionality. The black-haired girl warns him not to act foolishly, acknowledging that she knows he can react to her speed. Jin-sung redirects her attention, pointing out that the most pressing issue is that his squad leader, Jaeyoung, is fleeing. The black-haired girl watches as Jaeyoung runs away, while Jin-sung quickly glances at his watch to check how much time remains. Annoyed to see that he must hold on for another 3 minutes to secure a win for his team, he decides to stall as much time as possible. Jin-sung begins acting oddly, asking her if he can call her Nuna, while reassuring her that he is not flirting. Noting that this might have angered her, he switches to Sunbae. The black-haired girl recognizes Jin-sung's tactic and informs him that if he is just stalling, it is futile. She advises him to activate his idea. Jin-sung responds by suggesting that they should at least introduce themselves, as it seems fated that they have met. Realizing that Jin-sung has no intention of using his idea, the black-haired girl begins cracking her knuckles, preparing to punch him. Jin-sung falls back and pleads with her to wait, but she is determined to end it quickly and insists that he use his idea, noting that it appears to be the most valuable among his teammates. Jin-sung asks the black-haired girl why she is rushing things, emphasizing that remaining calm is a crucial quality. Annoyed by his delay, the black-haired girl starts walking towards him, while Jin-sung continues to avoid seriousness. Realizing that his tactics are ineffective, Jin-sung decides to reveal his dagger and begins a countdown to 3. As the countdown reaches 3, a light shines in his hand, and moments later, a dagger materializes. It is an F-rank idea with an overall combat ability of F, a standard dagger without any special skills. After manifesting his idea, Jin-sung notices the black-haired girl making a gesture as if she is in pain. He suggests she should visit the nurse, but she interrupts to ask if he is the rumored F-rank. Jin-sung admits that he is the infamous F-rank user but considers this F-rank dagger to be an S-rank compared to other ordinary daggers. The black-haired girl, deeply disappointed by being deceived by the notorious F-rank, decides to return and fight someone else, as she cannot afford to waste any more time. Initially, She believed Jin Sung was valuable due to his exceptional reaction speed, but now concludes it was merely luck. Jin Sung pleads with her not to leave, reminding her that she wanted to see his dagger and cannot just walk away disappointed. He warns her one last time that if she continues to leave, he will sneak up behind her and attack. The black-haired girl responds that she cannot afford to waste her time on an F rank like Jin Sung in a limited-time battle. However, before she can finish her sentence, Jin Sung leaps and attempts to attack her from behind. The black-haired girl manages to notice Jin Sung at the last moment, which Jin Sung dislikes as he hoped she would continue to ignore him. Despite being noticed, Jin Sung does not hesitate to attack her. However, the black-haired girl blocks his strike with her armor, causing a flash of light upon impact. She is surprised to find that the dagger is so dull it doesn't even scratch her armor. Meanwhile, Jin Sung begins to worry about his fate. Jin Sung's classmates burst into laughter upon seeing that he was unable to inflict any damage, which was to be expected from an F rank. The red-haired student laughs at how the senior was agitated by Jin Sung's ineffective attack. The scene shifts to Jin Sung and the black-haired girl, who is uncertain about their next move. The black-haired girl sighs and decides to walk away, telling Jin Sung that while he has good reflexes, they are inconsequential given the limitations of his idea. She advises him to end the fight, having confirmed that it is futile. Jin Sung, initially hoping his odd behavior would buy him some time, is surprised to realize that there are still 2 minutes remaining. The black-haired girl shifts her focus and starts walking towards Jiang, who is complaining to his teammates for not lasting even 5 minutes. The black-haired girl wonders why Jiang is criticizing them, especially since he has merely been running for 3 minutes. Jiang starts walking away from the black-haired girl, telling her that he is going easy on her and that she should stop, hoping she falls for his trick. The black-haired girl responds that there is no need for him to go easy on her and moves in front of him, eager to see a demonstration of his abilities. She tells Jiang that he will need more proof if he wants to surpass on Sungo. As Jiang continues to walk away, cursing his luck, he notices a large stone under his foot, which makes him happy. He thinks it was worthwhile to have scattered them around. Meanwhile, the black-haired girl wonders when Jiang will prove his merit. At her request, Jiang decides to demonstrate his capabilities. He places his hand on the ground and begins to extract the large stone beneath him. The black-haired girl is puzzled by his actions, while Jin Sung realizes that Byun Jiang's Idea rank is not C as previously thought. He is concealing his true rank. He addresses the black-haired girl as Armored Sunbeam and warns her to move away, as it is dangerous. However, it is too late, as Jiang has successfully extracted the large stone beneath him and is now preparing to swing it. His Idea is named Extract Something Stuck and Swing It. It is a B rank Idea with an overall compatibility of B rank, allowing Jiang to use any object that was stuck somewhere as a weapon. It also enables him to ignore the fixed weight of the extracted object, depending on his capabilities. One of the students from Class 10 wonders if Jiang will be alright, considering his opponent is a third-year student, while the red-haired student speculates that the large rock might give Jiang an advantage. The black-haired girl from the third year commends Jiang for not running away and wonders if he was waiting for a rock to utilize with his Idea all along. Jiang does not directly answer her question but instead jumps high into the air, declaring that she is an incredible third year. Jiang throws the massive stone towards the black-haired girl, commanding her to move aside and become the path he can trample over to demonstrate the merit of his Idea. He wonders if being a third-year student is everything, and if so, he intends to change that today by emerging as the victor. However, on Sungo, who is standing behind him, asks Jiang to excuse him for a moment. Jiang recognizes the voice and turns around, only to be struck by sand as Sungo slams him to the ground. Jiang curses his luck, deeming Sungo a coward for the sneak attack, but Sungo disregards him and rushes to the black-haired girl. She is struggling to stop the large stone thrown by Jiang, believing she can manage with her Idea. However, Sungo manifests his Idea, "I will definitely catch you," and successfully crushes the stone. This angers the black-haired girl, who sees it as a missed opportunity to showcase her own merit and wonders why her squad leader intervened. Sungo explains that he intervened because the attack was too dangerous, and it is his duty to protect his squad members. The black-haired girl, named Jui, asks Sungo if he is suggesting she would not have been able to handle it. While Sungo believes Jui could have managed the rock on her own, he doubts Jiang would have allowed her to do so. As Sungo finishes his sentence, he turns to see Jiang rushing towards him with a baseball bat, attempting to strike him. Sungo quickly manifests his Idea again and slams Jiang to the ground. Sungo's Idea is ranked B, with an overall combat ability of A+, allowing him to catch anything he targets without fail. It also enables him to bypass the time required to cover a fixed distance. Park Jin-sung, who had been observing the fight from the sidelines, feels pity for Jiang, who was outmaneuvered by Sungo. Sungo turns his gaze toward Jin-sung, giving him a chilling glare that sends shivers down Jin-sung's spine. Jin-sung repeatedly shouts his surrender, but Sungo ignores him and asks why Jin-sung warned Jui before Jiang activated his Idea. Jin-sung realizes he acted out of uncertainty, as Jiang can be unpredictable in combat. Sungo tells Jin-sung he is a terrible liar and begins to approach him, intending to use his Idea to defeat him. Jin-sung insists that fighting is unnecessary since he has already surrendered, but Sungo disregards this and employs his Idea to slam Jin-sung to the ground. This causes Jin-sung to lose his grip on his knife, but he manages to retrieve it with skill and attacks Sungo, urging him to listen when someone is speaking. Sungo observes Jin-sung's precise handling of the knife and focuses on it as Jin-sung attempts to free himself from Sungo's powerful grip. Sungo tracks the trajectory of Jin-sung's attack and quickly steps back to avoid the knife, contemplating Jin-sung's true identity. Jin-sung realizes that Sungo's strength is no joke and informs Sungo that he is recruit Park Jin-sung from the 2nd Squadron, 10th Platoon, 3rd Squad, with an F-rank Idea. Sungo appears to recognize Jin-sung, while Jin-sung is shocked to discover that there is still a minute remaining in the game. Sungo asks Jin-sung why he is looking away when his opponent is right in front of him. Jin-sung replies that Sungo's focus on him is somewhat alarming and redirects Sungo's attention to the crowd, which is eagerly watching Jin-sung's predicament. Jin-sung hopes the remaining minute will pass quickly so they can secure the victory, but Sungo realizes that Jin-sung is stalling for time and expresses his disdain for such tactics. Jin-sung laments his own helplessness and feels that Sungo's animosity towards him is excessive. Sungo questions why Jin-sung isn't making more of an effort to win, to which Jin-sung responds that it doesn't matter because he is an F-rank. Sungo advises Jin-sung to take the competition seriously because scouters will be evaluating performance, and students who fall short in their skills may be transferred out. This information surprises Jin-sung, who realizes why his homeroom teacher, Yango, had a seemingly cheerful demeanor earlier. Jin-sung then tells Sungo that he does not want to be transferred. In response, Sungo suggests that Jin-sung should consider performing properly. Jin-sung retorts, expressing uncertainty about what might happen to Sungo if he becomes Jin-sung's opponent. At that moment, an ominous aura envelopes Jin-sung. Veins around his eyes begin to bulge as he undergoes a transformation. His Idea shifts, significantly enhancing his physical abilities to 3 times their original strength, which were already comparable to that of sergeants. Jin-sung now also possesses the capability to easily identify his opponent's vital points and their Idea. This sudden change in Jin-sung's Idea allows him to perceive the most effective route to defeat his opponent with his current abilities. Jin-sung will revert to his normal state only if he can completely destroy his opponent's Idea or take his opponent down. Then we finally see now Jin-sung Idea named Absolute Eliminator, which is an S-rank Idea. Sungo notices the change in Jin-sung's aura and realizes that the F-rank dagger was not the full extent of his Idea. When Jin-sung assesses Sungo, he discovers that Sungo's Idea is only B-rank, far less impressive than he had anticipated. Sungo is shocked to learn that Jin-sung can see the Ideas of others. With a smirk, Jin-sung declares that he can't hold back anymore and dares Sungo to stop him with everything he's got. Sungo senses an overwhelming killing intent emanating from Jin-sung and thinks that Jin-sung is too old to be acting so emotionally unstable. However, Jin-sung pays no attention to Sungo's thoughts, entirely consumed by his own struggle to resist the urge to kill him. Jin-sung believes that Sungo can handle this level of murderous intent without issue. Meanwhile, an orange-haired girl from Class 10 wonders why Sungo is standing still and not attacking Jin Sung, while Sunggo's friend speculates that it might be because Sunggo doesn't see Jin Sung as a worthy opponent. A red-haired boy shouts at Sunggo, complaining about his inaction, as he came to watch Jin Sung get beaten. Despite appearances, Sunggo cannot figure out how to strike Jin Sung. Though Jin Sung seems unguarded, he leaves no openings. The scene then shifts to Jui, who is perplexed by the energy radiating from Jin Sung, which feels completely different from when she faced him earlier. Jui cannot comprehend the shift in the atmosphere around Jin Sung, but she is certain of one thing. They cannot leave him unchecked, as she senses something unsettling. Without hesitation, Jui orders her squad to attack Jin Sung. They jump at him from behind and manage to pin him down. Jin Sung laughs at his seniors, joking that they are heavy. Sunggo, however, questions Jui's decision to order the attack. Jui responds that, just as Sunggo has a duty to protect his group, she has a responsibility to protect hers. Sunggo tells Jui that there was no need to protect him, but Jui wonders if that's really true. Sunggo quickly realizes what she means. Jin Sung had handled nearly all the third-year students who attacked him in a remarkably short time, moving with a speed that few could have reacted to. Sunggo isn't sure if he himself would have been able to handle Jin Sung after witnessing that display. However, Jin Sung laughs at Jui and tells her to open her Idea before it breaks further. Shocked, Jui quickly realizes that Jin Sung's swift attack caused significant damage to her armor, leading to its breakdown. The other teammates notice that their wristbands are broken, initially wondering if the nurse accidentally turned off their Idea. But both Sunggo and Jui understand that it was Jin Sung who shattered their wristbands. Jin Sung compliments Sunggo's squad on their teamwork, joking that they are heavy, but Sunggo is concerned about something else. He asks Jin Sung if he has returned to normal. Jin Sung doesn't respond directly and instead asks his seniors to get off him, as the 5 minutes are up. Sunggo then tells Jin Sung that he wants their next clash to be without any interference, but Jin Sung declines, saying he's fine with it happening just once. Ignoring Jin Sung's refusal, Sunggo advises him to put in some effort before they meet again. Jin Sung tries to make it clear to Sunggo that he has no interest in a rematch, but Sunggo walks away without listening. The rest of Sunggo's teammates follow him, while Jin Sung lies on his back and lets out a long sigh, as if he has just won a war. The crowd, along with the platoon commander of the 10th Platoon, Yango, is shocked by the unexpected victory of the second year, 10th Platoon, 3rd Squad. The scene then shifts to the principal's office, where the principal is startled by the presence of the advisor in such a low-profile location. The advisor brushes it off with a laugh, assuring the principal not to worry, as no one knows of the advisor's visit. It's a secret. The advisor then asks if the files he requested are ready, causing the already flustered principal to stutter as he hands them over. The advisor examines the file of On Sunggo, a renowned student at the school, and is informed by the principal that On Sunggo is an outstanding student, not just in their institution, but globally, and is considered the pride of Houndy. The advisor notices that Sunggo had no award history in middle school, but secured every victory in high school, which might indicate a significant realization or turning point. The principal, however, finds it unfortunate and remarks that Sunggo's Idea rank could have been higher, but the advisor believes it was precisely because of Sunggo's B rank that he achieved so much. As they continue discussing Sunggo's abilities, the advisor's attention is drawn to Park Jin-sung's report, sparking curiosity about this trainee. When asked, the principal explains that Jin Sung is a student ranked even lower than the first-year students and was placed in the combat class after an argument. Intrigued, the advisor reviews Jin Sung's past records, but the principal insists that there's no need to read them. Ignoring the suggestion, the advisor asks about the typical age at which Idea manifests. The principal confirms that most children manifest their Idea around the age of 8, with some minor variation. The advisor reads about Jin Sung's special circumstances and learns that when he was 10 years old, robbers broke into his home, and his Idea manifested that same day. This surprises the advisor, as Jin Sung's Idea not only appeared late, but remains an F rank, despite emerging during an urgent situation. The advisor asks the principal if Jin Sung's overall combat ability had also been ranked F since he was 10. The principal replies that he isn't sure, but confirms that it was F when Jin Sung entered the school. The advisor speculates that Jin Sung might be deliberately concealing his true power and expresses a desire to meet Jin Sung in person. However, the principal mentions that Jin Sung will be transferring soon due to his F rank. Changing the subject, the principal nervously asks why the school has been turned into a military academy, but becomes frightened by the advisor's sharp glare, causing him to wonder if he asked a dangerous question. He quickly apologizes. The advisor, smiling, explains that the shift is in preparation for potential threats from North Korea, and they hope that through this system, a student will emerge who can break free from their past limitations. Park Jin-sung wakes up at 6 a.m. and leaves his house at 6:30, ready for another day of doing his best at school. He arrives early because he's recently been assigned various cleaning duties and other chores around the entire campus. The scene then shifts to the school gate, where Jin-sung is stopped by the disciplinary committee, who are debating whether he's violating the dress code. Jin-sung, however, assures them there's no issue. One of the committee members recognizes him as the only trainee at the school, which flatters Jin-sung as he feels proud of his growing reputation. The committee members, though, find him less impressive than they expected, speculating that the first platoon must have let their guard down. Jin-sung doesn't appear particularly strong, especially since his Idea manifests as just a dagger, which they consider practically useless. They wonder how Jin-sung could have stood up to Won Sungo with such a weapon, ultimately concluding that Sungo must have made a mistake. The scene shifts to the classroom, where Jin-sung is struggling to clean the chalk dust from the erasers, feeling frustrated that the school still uses blackboards instead of whiteboards, despite government funding. After finishing with the erasers, Jin-sung begins mopping the hallway, making it shine like a mirror. While working, he reflects on how his reputation has improved since the platoon battle against the third years. The scene then moves to classroom 10, where a red-haired student and his friend are impressed by how Jin-sung managed to secure victory by running away. They jokingly wish he had done the same with them from the start, concluding that he must be an S rank in unpredictability, even though they believe his success in the competition was probably due to luck. Meanwhile, Jin-sung is asleep at his desk, but is startled awake when Jaeyoung slams his hand on it. Jin-sung braces himself, thinking Jaeyoung might hit him again, but is surprised when, instead of beating him, Jaeyoung simply asks him to bring the math handouts that Jaeyoung missed last time. Jaeyoung urges Jin-sung to hurry, as he needs to copy the answers immediately. Jin-sung is surprised that Jaeyoung didn't hit him this time, but instead asked him for the handouts, likely due to Jin-sung's recent performance in the competition. Jin-sung realizes that his classmates have stopped picking on him. Instead, they've started assigning him various chores. Even while he's mopping the floor after class, students ask him to hand in their homework or return textbooks to the office, leaving him exhausted. The scene then shifts to classroom 10, where students are excited because classes have ended. However, their teacher, Yango, quiets them down, reminding everyone that today is the last day to join a club, which is mandatory for second graders. Jin-sung looks over the club applications, trying to find one that suits him, but he wonders if any of the clubs would even accept him, given that he's an F-rank trainee. As he ponders this, Yango informs the class that any student who doesn't join a club will have a private meeting with the teachers, making sure to emphasize this to trainee Park Jin-sung. The class bursts into laughter, convinced that no club will accept an F-ranker. They joke that Jin-sung might be allowed to take an entry test just to see how weak he is, but Jin-sung remains unfazed by their mockery. As Jin-sung examines the club application form, he's shocked to realize that all the clubs are related to either military training or Idea usage. While the other students excitedly discuss the clubs they want to join, most choosing ones focused on squad battles, Jin-sung sits alone, staring at the form. He wishes the clubs would remove their Idea rank limitations, as they seem more like exclusive groups of people with connections than real clubs. Amid his complaints, Jin-sung notices the hard training club, which has no Idea rank restrictions. He concludes that not many people would join this club, as it appears to be a straightforward physical training club. Although Jin-sung finds it odd that a single club is using the popular gymnasium by itself, especially when other clubs should be competing for the space. He hopes there won't be any issues, as the club's description even mentioned that it doesn't involve any Idea usage. When Jin Sung reaches the gymnasium, he's shocked to see a large crowd gathered in front of it. Initially thinking he might be in the wrong place, he double-checks and confirms that he's at the correct location. While standing there, one of the first-year students recognizes him and yells, "The F-rank upperclassman is here." Another first-year wonders if he should address Jin Sung informally, since, despite being an upperclassman, Jin Sung's status as a trainee technically places him lower in rank than the first years. Jin Sung, on the other hand, is surprised to see so many first-year students there, as joining a club isn't even mandatory for them. He can't help but wonder what has drawn such a large group of them to the gymnasium. A student suddenly shouts that the club president is coming out, causing everyone to turn their attention toward the gymnasium doors. Jin Sung tries to catch a glimpse of the president and is shocked to see that it's none other than On Sung-go, the leader of the hard training club. Realizing the situation, Jin Sung quickly thinks about running for his life. The other students, however, can't contain their excitement as they go wild, thrilled to see their role model, On Sung-go, up close. While Jin Sung isn't pleased to discover that Sung-go is the club president, Sung-go, on the other hand, is impressed by Jin Sung, as he didn't expect him to show up. Sung-go instructs all of the applicants to come in and get ready, while Jin Sung, on the other hand, considers leaving, fearing that getting involved with Sung-go would be a hassle. However, Sung-go stops him and asks where he is going. Jin Sung responds that he believes he has come to the wrong location and plans to look around and come back. Sung-go, as usual, ignores Jin Sung's explanation and asks if he has no intention of joining the club, despite its lack of other members. Sung-go realizes that Jin Sung came here expecting fewer people, but Jin Sung, though acknowledging Sung-go's insight, complains about the number of applicants. Sung-go insists that Jin Sung come inside, stating that the hard training club is not a place where anyone can simply walk in. Jin Sung tries to slip away, asserting that he is already below the level required to be here, and thus the club is not for him. Noticing Jin Sung's attempt to leave, Sung-go grabs him by the collar and drags him into the hard training club, instructing him to take the entry test. Sung-go prepares to administer the test to the rest of the applicants, but Jin Sung begs him to be excused from it, insisting he is fine with not participating. Sung-go then closes the gymnasium door and positions himself in front of the applicants to explain the test, noting that there are a lot of applicants this year as well. He informs them that the test is straightforward. They must follow the exercises he demonstrates until the end. The exercises consist of 30 burpees, followed by 30 push-ups, another 30 burpees, and 30 squats, which together form one set. Some students are astonished to learn that Sung-go himself will be performing the test, while others are motivated by the fact that it comprises only one set. However, everyone, including Jin Sung, is deeply shocked to hear that they must complete 10 sets without a break to pass. As soon as the test begins, many students are disqualified due to their slow pace or poor posture, as they are required to perform the exercises at the same speed as Sung-go. Jin Sung, observing Sung-go perform the exercises, is amazed by his endurance and considers Sung-go a monster for executing these demanding exercises effortlessly, without any change in his expression. As the first group is disqualified, Sung-go decides to start with the second group immediately, without any rest. The applicants, intimidated by the rigorous entry test, express their reluctance and urge Jin Sung to go first, despite his hesitations. Jin Sung, pushed to the forefront, faces Sung-go and praises him for his apparent lack of fatigue. He questions Sung-go's humanity, incredulous that a one-year age difference could account for such a disparity in capability. Sung-go responds that Jin Sung's comments are inappropriate, but Jin Sung fails to grasp his meaning and requests further clarification. Ignoring Jin Sung's plea, Sung-go instructs Group 2 to begin their exercises. In response, Jin Sung loudly declares his refusal to participate, regardless of Sung-go's instructions. Despite Jin Sung's efforts to persuade Sung-go otherwise, he begins performing the exercises alongside him. However, Jin Sung struggles to keep pace with the demanding routine, even though he believes he is fairly adept at such tasks, having spent his life training his stamina to endure bullying. The members of the second group appear on the brink of collapse, leading Jin-sung to realize that this routine exceeds the capacity of an average person. He begs Sungo to slow down, but Sungo, deeming Group 2 to be quite capable, decides to increase the pace. As time passes, disqualified applicants are astonished to see Jin-sung continuing with Sungo's rigorous routine, leading them to conclude that both Sungo and Jin-sung possess exceptional stamina. Jin-sung mentions that he trains regularly at home, but Sungo interrupts, instructing him to focus on the exercises. Meanwhile, the disqualified applicants speculate on the number of sets completed by both Sungo and Jin-sung. One of the applicants notes that they are on their 7th set, which is expected from Sungo. They find it intriguing that Jin-sung, who is supposed to be in F rank, is still keeping pace with Sungo. Sungo also acknowledges Jin-sung's perseverance, realizing that the reaction speed he observed previously was not merely a fluke. He believes that Jin-sung could potentially keep up if he increased his speed. The disqualified applicants are further amazed by Jin-sung's performance and wonder if an F-rank trainee can truly match the speed of the nation's top-ranked individual. They are astonished as Jin-sung continues to close the gap, and they begin cheering him on while counting down the final repetitions of the last set. When the set concludes with the rep count reaching 30, the crowd erupts in cheers for Jin-sung, the only participant to succeed out of all those present. However, Jin-sung, exhausted, feels as if he is seeing the angel of death. Sungo greets him warmly, shaking his hand and welcoming him to the HT Club. Jin-sung, despite the acknowledgement, thanks Sungo and announces his decision to quit immediately. Sungo disregards Jin-sung's protest and pulls him closer, informing him that there is no need to wait. He can start as a member beginning tomorrow. Jin-sung tightly grips Sungo's hand, frustrated that his objections are being ignored once again. Sungo continues to disregard Jin-sung's concerns, explaining that he has been waiting for someone who could match his level, emphasizing that the benefits of exercise are enhanced when done with others. Jin-sung is taken aback, realizing that they would have been in serious trouble if they had completed one more set. He had thought that Sungo disliked individuals like him. Jin-sung soon understands that he is in a precarious situation, as Sungo is thrilled to finally add a new member after a year, while Jin-sung had hoped to join a quieter, less demanding club. After Park Jin-sung finishes putting chairs on the tables, as instructed by his classmates, he decides against going to the HT Club. Jin-sung dislikes the attention he received after the entry test, and is wary of joining a club led solely by Sungo. He believes that this association is the reason he is constantly picked on by other students who are envious of his acceptance into the HT Club. Jin-sung considers avoiding the HT Club altogether to prevent Sungo from continually pursuing him, but he realizes that even if he were to injure himself, Sungo would simply take him to the nurse for treatment and then drag him to the HT Club once he was recovered. As Jin-sung contemplates his predicament, he is startled by a gray-haired girl who has been calling his name for some time. The girl inquires if he is a student in this class, while Jin-sung is captivated by her beauty, marveling at the presence of such an attractive girl in their grade. Jin-sung replied that he was a student in this class, prompting the gray-haired girl to show him her badge, as she had heard that students introduce themselves with their badges. Jin-sung examined the badge and discovered that she was ranked as a corporal. Meanwhile, the gray-haired girl awaited Jin-sung's response, asking if he did not have a badge. Before Jin-sung could answer, she shouted at him, demanding his title and name. Jin-sung quickly responded, stating, "I am Squadron 2, Platoon 10, Squad Member 3, Trainee Park Jin-sung." Embarrassed by the formal introduction, which he had memorized through excessive practice with his classmates, Jin-sung was surprised to see that Corporal Kim Se-in was taken aback to learn he was a trainee. Se-in then introduced herself as Corporal Kim Se-in and informed Jin-sung that she would be joining Squadron 2, Platoon 10, starting tomorrow. Jin-sung concludes that Se-in is a transferred student and asks her to take care of him, explaining that he has to go because he has another appointment. However, Se-in shows little concern for his excuse. She grabs Jin-sung by the collar and pulls him towards the wall. Despite Jin-sung's insistence on the importance of his prior engagement, Se-in informs him that she needs a guide. Jin-sung becomes anxious at the thought of Sungo searching for him and pleads with Se-in to find someone else to be her guide, as he is in a hurry. Sean insists that it must be him because she feels comfortable with Jin-sung. Slightly disturbed by Seon's insistence, Jin-sung asks if she knows him, seeking an explanation for her behavior. Seon, adopting a stern expression, explains that she just saw him moments ago. Reluctantly, Jin-sung agrees to be her guide and asks where she needs to go. Seon replies that she wants him to take her to Onsungo. Jin-sung feels relieved to discover that he and Seon share the same destination. However, his relief quickly turns to fear when he hears Sungo's voice calling him from behind. Jin-sung's suspicion that Sungo would come looking for him proves correct, as Sungo has arrived to ensure Jin-sung is not attempting to skip practice. Jin-sung assures Sungo that he was just about to head over. Observing the interaction, Seon asks Sungo if he is Sergeant Onsungo. Sungo does not respond directly to her question, but instead inquires if she is in the second grade, indicating that she should show respect to her seniors. Seon then grabs Sungo by his tie and asserts that, based on skill-based ranks, Sungo should be stronger than she is to be her superior. Sungo adjusts his tie and asks if Seon wants him to confirm who is stronger. Meanwhile, Jin-sung, concerned about being caught in their argument, comments that he is likely to be overwhelmed by their dispute. He is taken aback when Seon suddenly changes the topic and asks Sungo if he is dating anyone. Sungo replies that he is not currently dating anyone, which does not come as a shock to Jin-sung, who is aware that Sungo spends most of his time working out in the gymnasium. Upon hearing this, Seon tells Sungo that she does not like stiff individuals like him. Sungo responds that he does not like Seon either, so there is no issue. Jin-sung, meanwhile, tries to understand the nature of the interaction between the two. Seon then suggests that if Sungo does not want to be bothered, he should formalize a relationship, whether it be a girlfriend or fiancé. Sungo is puzzled by this and asks Seon for clarification. Seon does not answer directly, but explains that her family is somewhat loud and conservative, implying that Sungo should heed her advice for his own benefit. Meanwhile, Jin-sung is left in a state of confusion, trying to make sense of the situation. Seon, however, is pleased that Sungo does not like her and then asks Jin-sung if he would be interested in dating her. Jin-sung is taken aback by this unexpected proposal and becomes flustered. Seon notices that they are of the same height, which she finds ideal since she prefers men of a similar stature. Jin-sung is deeply embarrassed by the sudden proposition, which Seon finds endearing. She then inquires about Jin-sung's Idea and combat rank. Jin-sung responds that both are at F rank, but Seon is skeptical, believing that no one could have F ranks in both areas. Jin-sung insists that it is indeed possible, as he is standing right there. Seon dismisses it as a joke, but before they can continue, Sungo intervenes, stating that they need to start their training and asking Seon to leave Jin-sung alone. The scene then shifts to the gymnasium, where Jin-sung struggles with his workout. Despite this, Sungo demands that Jin-sung complete one more rep of muscle-ups. While Seon watches both of them work out, she reflects on her initial suspicion that Jin-sung was using the training as an excuse to avoid her. However, after witnessing his genuine effort, she now views Jin-sung in a new light. Meanwhile, Jin-sung is puzzled by Seon's presence and wonders why she decided to follow them. Seon asks Jin-sung if he is okay, but Jin-sung's sole desire is to escape the grueling workout. He begs Seon to help him since she is already there, but she refuses, leaving Jin-sung in shock as he recalls that Seon had previously asked him to be her guide. Seon then questions Sungo about his decision to train with someone like Jin-sung, who is merely a trainee. Sungo responds that having a workout partner, regardless of their rank, is valuable. Amused by Sungo's response, Seon presses him to explain why he is investing so much effort into a trainee, suggesting that it must be due to Jin-sung's significant potential. Seon is quite enthusiastic about discovering why Sungo is giving attention to a trainee like Jin-sung. However, Sungo does not answer directly and instead pretends ignorance, suggesting that it is Seon who has expectations of Jin-sung. Realizing that Sungo has no intention of revealing anything, Seon decides to ask Jin-sung himself about the secret he might be hiding. Jin-sung, in turn, also feigns ignorance and enthusiastically insists that she is gravely mistaken, as he is merely a rank F student with no notable qualities. Instead of convincing her, Jinsung's fervent behavior surprises both Sien and Sungo. Sungo, exasperated, sighs and begins dragging Jinsung by the collar to commence the next training session, feeling that they have exhausted their pretense. Jinsung, bewildered by Sungo's anger, desperately begs Sien to rescue him. The scene then shifts to Class 10, where Yango announces Sien as the new transfer student, leading to confusion among some students about the timing of her arrival. Some students find Sien quite attractive in addition to looking tough. When Sien asks Yango where she should sit, Yango informs her that there is a seat at the end of Squad 1, but she must introduce herself before taking the seat. However, Sien ignores Yango's instructions and chooses to sit in Squad 3 instead, as she prefers it. Yango informs her that Squad 3 currently does not have any available slots. Nevertheless, Sien disregards Yango and tells the student sitting next to Jinsung that she would like to take a seat, instructing him to move. The student refuses, stating that the seat belongs to him. Annoyed, Sien slams her hand on the table, demanding if he really cannot move. The student, frightened, yields and vacates the seat for Sien, finding somewhere else to sit. Sien thanks him and takes the seat beside Jinsung. As she settles in, Jiang questions Sien's behavior and demands to know her rank and name, since he is in charge of Squad 3. Sien responds by asking Jiang if his military rank is higher than hers. Sien is unwilling to listen to anyone she perceives as ranking lower than herself. She informs Jiang that she has heard the highest rank for second-year students is corporal and that she holds that rank, thus she has no obligation to heed Jiang's authority. Ignoring him, Sien tells Yango that she will be sitting beside Jinsung from now on. Jiang, irritated by Sien's behavior, asserts that he is the leader of Squad 3, but Sien disregards him completely. Meanwhile, Yango sighs at the unusual situation and decides to allow Sien to remain seated next to Jinsung, as she is already there. Noticing Jinsung's displeasure, Sien asks if his indifference is due to not liking her. She explains that she thought they had a good connection yesterday and, with an intense gaze, asks Jinsung if he would prefer she do something about it or if he simply chooses to avoid getting along with her. Jinsung responds that he would prefer not to avoid getting along with Sien, but his demeanor is not due to any dislike for her. As they converse, Yango interrupts and requests that Kim Sien at least introduce herself to the class. Sien retorts that she is already seated, implying that an introduction is unnecessary, but she decides to proceed with it from her seat. Sien stands up, only for Jiang to remind her that it is considered poor manners to stand while introducing oneself. Despite Jiang's objections, Sien continues, asserting that her voice will carry clearly from where she is. She then announces to the class that she is a transfer student joining Class 10 starting today and holds the rank of corporal. A classmate asks the red-haired guy why Sien is acting so boldly, to which he replies that it might be because she was quite accomplished at her previous school. Sien adds that her Idea is White Jade Goblin and mentions that although her family helped facilitate her transfer to this school, Sien hopes that everyone can improve together. The class is stunned to learn that Sien's Idea is the special Idea of the White Jade Kim family. Some students doubt the claim, while others are excited to have a White Jade Goblin among them. Yango then admonishes the class to quiet down and refrain from making noise. The commotion in Class 10 stems from the fact that the White Jade Goblin is a hereditary Idea, a rarity given that Ideas are typically not passed down through generations. It is widely known that no Idea has ever been duplicated since the dawn of time because what is engraved on a soul cannot be identical. While there have been attempts to pass down Ideas to enhance their strength, precision, sophistication, and danger, only one family has succeeded in doing so: the Kim family of Gimhee, descendants of King Suro. The Kims were known for neglecting their own families while dedicating themselves to endless education, innovation, and combat across several generations. To protect their bloodline, the Kims engaged exclusively in intermarriages and ultimately succeeded in obtaining an exceptional Idea, the white jade goblin, which holds a world soul ranking of A. This ideya manifests as a white jade goblin in the user's body. However, the white jade goblin only appeared in the daughters of each generation, which caused the family's population to decline drastically. The last-born child almost saw the family line end until a sword-wielding goblin was born, whose physical and latent abilities far surpassed those of a male. Kim Seon is that last goblin, an elite from birth with unparalleled swordsmanship, recognized both by her family and the heavens as a prodigy. After creating a stir with her revelation, Seon asks her teacher, Yango, if she may now take her seat. Yango responds affirmatively, allowing her to sit down. Yango then informs the entire class that Corporal Kim Seon will assume the role of Vice Squad Leader for Squad 3 starting today. This announcement causes an uproar among the students, but Yango quickly restores order. Jiang, however, objects to Seon being appointed Vice Squad Leader due to her status as a transfer student. Instead of addressing Jiang's concerns, Yango instructs him to refrain from commenting further on the matter, which greatly frustrates Jiang. Despite his annoyance, Jiang remains silent. Meanwhile, Jin Sung is surprised by Seon's popularity. Seon explains that her acclaim is due to her exceptional abilities, and she also notes that Jin Sung is quite unique, as holding the rank of F trainee soldier is uncommon. Jin Sung finds this comment disheartening and begs Seon to stop criticizing him, emphasizing that he is an ally. However, Seon, amused by the situation, shows no intention of stopping. Jiang, on the other hand, remains angry, unable to accept that a transfer student like Seon has suddenly risen to the position of vice captain of the squad. The lecture concluded, and as two students from Class 10, a boy and a girl, exited the classroom, they discussed the possibility of replacing Jiang as the squad leader of Squad 3 with Kim Seon. They argued that Seon was superior to Jiang in every aspect, given her higher ideya rank and greater overall combat ability. Additionally, they noted that Jiang had issued odd orders during the squad battle, seemingly focused on enhancing his own image. Initially, they had thought Seon was arrogant, but they later realized she was exceptionally smart, effective at commanding, and possessed impressive charisma during the battle, which they found very impressive. They hoped Seon would soon be promoted to squad leader. Meanwhile, Jiang, who had overheard the conversation, was seething with anger at the very mention of Kim Seon. The scene then shifts to Seon, who invites Jin Sung to have lunch with her. However, Jin Sung apologizes, explaining that he cannot join her because he needs to clean. Undeterred, Seon grabs Jin Sung by the collar and insists that he accompany her, stating that she has no one else to dine with. Jin Sung realizes that Seon is not being truthful, as she is currently the most popular person in the school. Seon, however, dislikes when students approach her with inquiries about her family, as they tend to sneak glances at her without engaging in genuine conversation. Despite Seon's insistence, Jin Sung explains that he cannot join her for lunch because he has numerous tasks to complete. These tasks include cleaning the blackboard, dusting the blackboard erasers, sweeping and mopping the classroom floor, and retrieving supplies for the next class. Seon is taken aback by the extensive list of chores Jin Sung must perform daily, noting that the workload is so substantial that even a squad leader would struggle to manage it alone. This leads Seon to conclude that Jin Sung is handling duties assigned by other squad leaders as well, and not just for his own squad but for the entire class. With a concerned expression, Seon asks Jin Sung to confirm whether her understanding of the situation is correct. Jin Sung reassures her that it is accurate, explaining that he handles these tasks as part of his routine and that involving more people would only complicate the process. Jin Sung asks Seon not to misunderstand his situation and assume that he is performing these chores under duress. However, Seon is confident that she has understood the situation correctly and begins to drag Jin Sung out of the classroom. When Jin Sung inquires about their destination, Seon explains that they are heading to confront the students who are assigning him chores that were originally their responsibility. Despite Jin Sung's request for Seon to drop the matter, stating that he is fine with the current arrangement, Seon is determined to address the issue. She pulls Jin Sung in front of the red-haired student and questions why he is making a recruit from Squad 3 handle all the cleaning, given that the red-haired student is usually responsible for cleaning Squad 4's classroom. The red-haired student responds that it is because Jin Sung is an F-rank trainee. Sien cuts him off, stating that she has no interest in hearing excuses and insists that from now on, everyone should perform their assigned tasks. She asserts that targeting someone weaker is unacceptable and disgraceful. Sien informs the red-haired student that she also wants to avoid being disgraceful. She warns him that if she catches him delegating his tasks to Jin Sung again, it will not end well for him. The red-haired student apologizes to Sien and assures her that it will not happen again. Sien points out that he should actually be apologizing to Jin Sung, so the red-haired student promptly apologizes to Jin Sung. Sien then apologizes for interrupting the red-haired student's meal and informs Jin Sung that they are moving on to address the next issue. Jin Sung is surprised to hear that they are still not finished and asks where they are going next. Sien replies that they are going to see the homeroom teacher, Yango, which shocks Jin Sung as he did not anticipate this. The scene shifts to their homeroom teacher, Yango, who is unaware of the situation involving Jin Sung. To resolve the issue, Yango appoints Sien to oversee the distribution of cleaning chores. Sien promptly begins assigning the duties and delegates the cleaning responsibilities to the squad members. Sien assigns one student to handle the blackboard and another to manage the mopping. Both students are surprised to be tasked with these chores, especially since they believe that F-rank trainee Jin Sung should be responsible for the cleaning. Sien becomes frustrated and demands to know if they are objecting to her authority. Both students quickly assure her that they will not contest her orders and proceed to grab the mop. Jiang, who has been observing the situation, addresses Sien as the vice squad leader. Before he can continue, Sien, deliberately not using his title, asks if he also wants to take on some cleaning duties. Jiang, irritated by this, insists that Sien should address him properly as squad leader. Sien agrees to use the title, but makes it clear she has no intention of following Jiang's request. She then questions why Jiang is present, to which he responds that he has no obligation to provide a reason for speaking to his subordinate. Sien acknowledges Jiang's point but comments that, since he is annoying, she might just have to become the squad leader herself to change the dynamics. Jiang challenges Sien to repeat her previous statement, but Sien responds by asking if Jiang needs anything from her. If not, she indicates she needs to return to class. Jiang instructs Sien to wait and requests that she meet him on the rooftop after class, as he has something to discuss regarding the squad. Sien agrees to this arrangement. As the bell rings, signaling the end of the lecture, Sien heads toward the rooftop, with Jin Sung following closely behind to ensure he knows where she is going, having overheard the conversation between Sien and Jiang. Sien climbs the stairs leading to the rooftop, confirming Jin Sung's suspicion that she is indeed meeting Jiang. Jin Sung feels that his squad leader, Jiang, will have a very busy day. Jiang follows Sien but stops behind the door after she reaches the rooftop, eavesdropping on their conversation. Sien inquires about the purpose of their meeting, to which Jiang responds by asking if Sien is pretending not to know that he has gathered many students with the intention of confronting him. Sien finds Jiang impressive, noting his apparent popularity in the school. However, Jiang quickly clarifies that he does not intend to confront Sien after their discussion. Sien finds it somewhat embarrassing that Jiang requires such a gathering of people to handle this kind of conversation, which irritates Jiang. In response, he decides to teach Vice Leader Sien a lesson that she will not forget.